In 1968, Buckminster Fuller published a short story, The Operating Manual for Spaceship Earth. He compares our planet to a spaceship that has a finite amount of resources and cannot be resupplied. Since the beginning of human consciousness, survival on this spaceship has been a struggle to collect those resources. Suddenly, things have changed. We've won the war against Mother Nature. We've gotten so successful at extracting fossil fuel and raw materials for consumer goods that we're in danger of dying in our own waste. Now the challenge is distributing this abundance and sustaining our planet for future generations. But what does that mean? With so much momentum moving in the direction of continued destruction, what can one person do? My whole life I've known that the climate is changing, that we are changing the environment by simply living. In northeastern Pennsylvania, simply living meant shoveling coal into a furnace to heat our home and taking out the ashes. A greenhouse effect has been created by transferring carbon trapped in the ground for millennia into the atmosphere. As a child, I didn't need this explained. It made sense to me. I lived with it every day, shovel by shovel. I grew up in an area that was devastated by strip mining. Finding the balance that enables our capacity to endure is all about those external costs, the costs that never show up on a developer's balance sheet, yet remain for generations to pay. It's all about economics for sure, but it's also about culture. As instigators of climate change and primary beneficiaries of the causes that created it, we have a responsibility to create a culture that can bring the planet back to balance. Technology can help. In 2008, I had the opportunity to lead a breakthrough technology to market. Hello, I'm Chris Skrinak, president of Adaptive Arc. At Adaptive Arc, we believe in reversing the environmental damage caused by waste. Waste is pollution, and the world generates billions of tons of non-recyclable waste each year. With few available economical options, it is often discarded, contaminating our land, water, and air. Adaptive Arc takes nearly all forms of waste and transforms it into clean energy and commercial materials. Like wind and solar alternative energy, Adaptive Arc generates clean energy. However, we go one step further by using waste pollution as fuel. We are more than clean energy. We're energy that cleans. We realize that alternative energy can only be successful if cost-effective. Our systems are 50% more economical than comparable systems, and a typical rate of return on investment is 3 to 5 years. Adaptive Arc systems are also 3 times smaller, allowing for efficient land use. Our goal is to provide every community with access to affordable and safe waste transformation so they no longer need to make the difficult choice of doing what is good for the environment or what's good for the bottom line. Our systems utilize a process known as gasification, one of the safest, cleanest, and efficient methods for creating energy. Gasification has been in use for over 100 years and generates energy in over 25 countries. It works by using extremely high temperature in an oxygen-starved environment, causing a molecular breakdown of waste into a synthetic natural gas called syngas. This gas can be used to create clean electricity and energy for our communities. Burning, or incineration, is the opposite of gasification. It uses lower temperatures, requires oxygen injection, and burns the waste, leading to toxic emissions. Contrasting the two approaches, incineration creates dirty exhaust, gasification creates clean fuel. The operational CE25 system you see here processes 25 tons per day of waste, equal to what is produced by 8,000 average American homes. The promise of this technology is that virtually every resource we extract from the ground, every chemical and every product we make, can be recovered and used again, indefinitely. It's important to recognize that sustainability is very different depending on where you live. For example, 20% of the waste in the US is food. Yet the only major city that sorts and processes food for recycling is San Francisco. And there's a good reason for this. The economics are just not there. The residents of San Francisco have opted to split the difference. Modern landfills are built like massive wedding cakes, full of little chambers. Some of you may recall when Orange County declared bankruptcy in 1994. Do you know how they recovered from their nearly $8 billion in trading losses? By building landfills and getting paid to accept all of LA's waste. We permit landfills as a necessary evil. Even in their wedding cake condos, our trash is still a potent environmental disaster. Waste decaying in them produces 1.5 tons of greenhouse gases for every ton interred. The principal pollutant, methane, has 21 times the heat-shielding power of carbon dioxide. Some of the other trace pollutants from a modern American landfill retain heat 2,000 times more powerfully than carbon dioxide. The poorest in our society live near and even sometimes in landfills. The social cost to their families and health is a cost we all endure. Today's disasters in Porter Ranch and Flint exemplify that industry cannot self-regulate and government cannot protect. It's up to us to care. The poor of the developing world have no bunkers for their trash. They pile it up or burn it and let it leach into the water table and rivers. These photos are of Machu Picchu. Out of neglect, the nearby Urubamba River is dead. Black plaque pours into the river that just 10 years ago was teeming with fish. The population living in Jakarta's largest landfill is so large that they have their own postal code. And they have rights, scavenger rights, that prevent the city from doing anything to clean that mess up. With Adaptive Arc, I had the opportunity to walk with both virtuous and corrupt public officials that wanted to do something about these disasters. Most frequently, it was a lack of public will that stood in the way. Here's the mantra for a sustainable spaceship Earth: reduce, reuse, recycle. When we reduce carbon emissions in California, we produce Tesla, the state's largest manufacturing employer. We invent lower power processors, more efficient batteries, and even the ability to wirelessly transmit renewable energy. We produce solar farms and an Internet of Things industry that promises to control the impact of our cars, homes, highways, and gizmos we carry around with us everywhere. The call to reduce is a call to innovate, not deny ourselves of a good life and rising standards of living. It's a call to thrive, but not at the expense of others. In 1952, Ray Bradbury published A Sound of Thunder, a short story where wealthy hunters travel through time to the Jurassic era to shoot a Tyrannosaurus Rex. In a panic, he veers off his path and steps on a single butterfly that returns with him to the current century on the bottom of his boot. The world he returns to is subtly different. English words are now spelled and spoken strangely. People behave differently, and the outcome of a current election has turned in favor of a notorious fascist. The fact that each of our actions, no matter how small, can have a profound effect has come to be known as the butterfly effect. It's a power we all have as we make wise choices, big and small. Technology can help us thrive in coming years, but technology is only a tool. Capital can support technological change, but ultimately it's up to us and our choices, large and small, that will determine our future. We live on a spaceship that has a finite amount of resources and cannot be resupplied. I encourage you to be mindful about your daily habits and what you can do to promote sustainable choices where you live, and to be an unspoken example to others.